Hey everybody, Samson Folk in what is another mailbag. Your Toronto Raptors are 2-11. That is the worst record in the NBA. They are per cleaning the glass, 22nd in offense. They are per cleaning the glass, 27th in defense. They rebound the basketball a lot on the offensive end. They turn the ball over a lot on the offensive end. They struggle immensely shooting threes, and they foul the hell out of the opposing team, sending them to the line repeatedly. This is a basketball team. Every night they go out there and they try and win. Every night, well, most nights, they fail. We're talking about them, the Toronto Raptors. I hope you enjoy your Saturday afternoon. Thank you for spending a part of it with me. The first thing I want to talk about, and we'll get through a bit of the rigmarole first so that people like hop in or whatever, but we're doing film. There were a lot of questions I was asked since this is a mailbag. A lot of questions I think are asked now and will be asked in the future of like, how much is Darko's fault? If this team had a quote unquote good coach, how many wins do they have? Is Emmanuel Quickly and Scotty Barnes playing 1/16th of the available minutes on the Raptors? They combined for like 200 minutes out of the 3,200. Is that more important than like the best coach you've ever seen? Do the best coaches, like Eric Spoelstra calls a timeout he doesn't have, loses the game? They give up a simple back screen lob, like this kind of stuff. What is on the players? What is on the coach? Is the Raptors' overall framework something that works? It's like going through the film helps this. And from my point of view, there won't be any, I guess, big declarations. We'll walk through the film. I'll tell you with my eye what I think is going wrong, what I think are the Raptors' ideals that they want to aspire to defensively that lead to certain breakdowns and make them not help from certain places. All that will be here. And we'll get to talk a little bit about like what Darko is implementing and what the players are failing to do on the court. And keep in mind, with kindness, players fail to do things on the court. You know why? It's really hard to guard NBA players. The best defender makes mistakes, many, every single game. The worst defender makes many more. And getting five guys to defend in unison is very difficult. So, as great as a coach's schemes might be, the players still have to go out there and enact it. And the Raptors are a team that is 30th in free throw rate. Jakob Pertl has talked about this before. In fact, a couple of the players have talked about, they're a new team. There's a lot of young players. They're trying to make it work. There's a lot of mistakes that are being made. And when we go through the film, I think we will see that. But again, with kindness, players make mistakes. It doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It happens. You know what I mean? I think too often people see like a mistake, or if someone does film and points it out, they're like, oh, this guy is an idiot. That's not the case. That's not what we're doing here. Okay, we got like 35 people in here. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, please and thank you. And let's watch film. So, something that happened last night. In the first half, the Raptors allowed 13 of 13 shooting at the rim to the Detroit Pistons. And keep in mind, this Raptors team still only allowed 99 points by the end of game. That's a good defensive game. In this modern NBA, quite good. However, 13 of 13 at the rim, well, that's terrible. The Raptors, they played good defense from three, as they have all season. The Raptors are one of the best teams in the NBA at limiting three-point attempts. There's a lot of thought around how much defenses can actually affect three-point percentage. They think that's a little bit more unstable. What defenses and a lot of coaches and scouts seem to think, and I guess thought leaders of basketball, they seem to think you can help control for volume more than you can control for accuracy. Some teams shoot it well. Some teams have a good night. Some teams have a bad night. The New York Knicks of 2020-21, they had one of the luckiest defensive three-point years in some time. Teams shot really bad against them. They played hard. They dug down, and they were rewarded for it with a bit of luck. Okay, let's get into it. So this is a Raptors team, of course, that allowed 13 of 13. So we're going to see here. Yes, let's go into my whatever this is. Filmora. Let me see. Pull this up. Okay. This is the first possession where the Pistons scored at the bucket, right? This is basketball. So this is just an angle pick and roll. It's not a middle pick and roll. It's Cade Cunningham going to his left. The Raptors are in drop, right? Jakob Poeltl is going to push and get back. It's just an easy pass out for Cade. And I think here the mistake is Jakob has too high a closeout. He's coming too far to one side, especially since he has help in a dig down with Ochai right there. That to me is a small defensive mistake. Then what happens? Tobias drives it. And what happened here? Davion didn't want to help one pass away, really, because Cade Cunningham is a good catch and shoot three-pointer. He kind of fakes that dig and tries to step back, and that's a bucket. Could RJ Barrett, like right here, have been, I guess, a little bit more aggressive in help? Sure. Oh, Lord. Blake says no one can see anything. Okay, well, oh, damn. This must be a copyright thing then. All right, we're stopping the sharing. Okay, well, I will have to. Well, actually, I'll export this right now. Oh, Lord in heaven. Anyway, okay, and then we'll watch it together as a family. Okay, so sorry everybody, we're all learning on the fly. Yes, thank you, Blake, for letting me know. I guess, yeah, I don't know if Fillmore has some sort of thing. Anyway, so while that's loading, I will say it will we will get through the film. It just has to load, or I guess the editor has to bake the film. So yes, HC says Blake with his Ray Allen Game 6 moment. Blake also says this is Darko's fault. That's true. The good thing about this is since it's a same day stream, that means that this isn't going up as a podcast, so there's like no dead air or anything like that. This is just something that stays on YouTube. So the clunkiness of it all will stay right here. I guess while all that's loading, I will answer a couple questions that weren't necessarily about I guess the film and walking through it. So let me go grab one of those quickly as I set everything up. This is why I need a producer. A producer would be excellent. I think that would be yeah. And S is saying the internet is jumpy too. Lord in heaven. Okay. Love says, is there any viable path of going the Cavs route, a la trading for Donovan Mitchell, or should the Raptors stay the course? So kind of a team building question, I guess, off the start. So do the Raptors have that avenue? The Cavs, when they made that decision to trade for Donovan Mitchell, I mean, they had Lauri Markkanen, who is having a down year at this point in time, but they had Jared Allen, they had Evan Mobley, they had Darius Garland, and that's like a great nucleus of a team. The Cavs were really excited about their team prior to all of this because Darius Garland had an excellent season as their lead ball handler. Evan Mobley was just coming off of second in Rookie of the Year voting, and the Cavs as a whole, I think, were very, very good. They were impressive. Even if they did they tanked at the they didn't tank, but they didn't do well at the end of the year. And they were in a position with Markkanen, with Colin Sexton, where they had let's say surplus value to trade for Donovan Mitchell. And even when you consider how good Lauri was in the first 2 years now, especially that first year since being traded to the Jazz, what the Cavs gave up really wasn't very much for Donovan Mitchell. And at least I didn't think so, right? And I was somebody who was like, oh man, I would have loved the Raptors to go in for Donovan Mitchell. I remember this being a conversation at the time with the Raptors. Go in for Donovan. And I think Donovan is truly, truly special. I think Darius Garland is truly, truly special. Do the Raptors have that surplus of value like that on the roster that they could just go in for a superstar? No, they don't have it. And there isn't, I don't think there's a superstar, I guess, outside of the Giannis murmurs, right? There isn't a superstar who is ready to be on the block and would go to the Raptors. And the Raptors don't even have as healthy a core because, like, and Darius Garland is so good. Darius Garland is so good. He broke his jaw and it affected everything about his game. And he had a down year. And even when I was doing like the Cavs media stuff before the season, like with Fox Sports, like Bob, they were talking about they wanted to trade Darius. And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy to me. That to me is crazy. That guy is incredible. Darius is incredible. Evan Mobley is incredibly well regarded. Jared Allen is incredibly well regarded. Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, these guys do not sit in the same sphere of consideration from GMs, from the league at wide, from scouts, whatever, as those Cavs players do. And Scotty does. But are the Raptors going to trade Scotty for a superstar? No. So I don't think the Raptors are in a position to make that same superstar trade. They maybe could have been uh, in a position to trade for like a distressed asset, whatever the hell the words are, for a player who is undervalued in his current place. I thought last year, as Darius Garland was in the midst of a terrible year and the Cavs organization seemed to be lower on him, and there was murmurs about like they might move off of him because they want to keep Donovan Mitchell, and the fan base was like on Darius Garland. And I talked to the Cavs media, and also some of Cavs media was like on Darius Garland. I said the Raptors should trade for Darius Garland, and you can find that tweet. It's just a bunch of people in my replies calling me a dumbass. And Darius Garland is averaging like 21-7 on 66% true shooting on an undefeated team. And it's just like, yeah, it's risky to go for a guy who's underperforming, but if you feel, strong in your analysis, then you've got to trust it. That's what it just has to be. Yeah, it's like it's tough, how did I do this last time? The last time I watched these clips, I pulled it up on Twitter. Twitter, that's right. Okay. Would it be funny to just upload like 3 minutes of clips to Twitter and just watch it from there? That might be kind of a meme. Let me check how long this is. Because anytime I try and play it on like my desktop, you know what? We're going to watch it via Twitter, everybody. That's how we're going to go through the film. I'm going to upload this. You guys are all going to hang out with me through the process. And I'm just going to tweet called "For Film Watching Purposes." Okay. Welcome to the dead air, everybody, and the clicky-clacketing of my keys on the keyboard. Okay. Here we go. This is so stupid, by the way. Like, I'm really dumb. I'm a dumb guy. I'm uploading video to Twitter to watch on a live stream because I can't figure out how to get it to go from my desktop. This is a stupid guy right here. Everyone laugh at my idiocy. Okay. It's going up. All right, and then we can share the screen. Let's go. This is so dumb. Oh, this is great. Okay, everybody. This rocks. We're gonna share the film. I guess S is, I don't know who's on the Raptors public account, but is arguing about Jakob in chat. Hello, everyone. The promise has please tweet that out, Blake. Actually, that quote. We're about to watch film. This was the promise that was made coming into this. Do I think that the Raptors are in a position to make a similar trade to the Donovan Mitchell one? Love? No, I do not. But I like where your head's at because that was a great trade that the Cavs made. It's tremendous. The Cavs team building, in my mind, has been great. Does being 14-0 mean that they are going to be, the champions at the end of the season? No. But they're a good team, and I'm very high on them for a reason. Okay, everybody. We are going to share the screen. We are going to figure it out. And then we're going to watch some Dagum film. Okay, I got to figure out. This one is dead. Okay, yes. All right, everybody. We're so close to getting into it. We're so close. Okay. Here we go. Hopefully this works. Can everybody see this? I certainly hope so. Okay, here we go. This here we go. We are watching film, everybody. We're watching film, and the crux of this is we wanna figure out, and please, if Blake or S, if you can't see the screen, you have to message me. Okay. The reason why we're watching this film, for anybody who came late, is there's been a lot of questions about what Darko is doing wrong as a coach. And of course, that brings up, like, well, what schemes are they running? What are they trying to accomplish on defense? And we're going to get through some of their ideals defensively. Ball pressure is obviously a big one. You can see right here, like, this is ball pressure. Like, Davion is going to meet him right here. He's going to climb the screen. And okay, Blake said they can see. It's all good. Okay. Jakob is going to come up to touch, which is a type of it's a type of defensive coverage at the level. So Jakob comes up to touch, then gets into drop. This is good ball pressure from Davion. He gets him right to the sideline. And since Jakob is in contain here, that means the outlet is going to be to Tobias Harris. This is all good defense. However, since Jakob was in such deep contain in an empty side, that means his closeout has to be really aggressive. Here's the first mistake in my mind. Jakob closes out with his feet pointed to the heavy side of the floor, which means that he's opening up the weak side for the attack. That means that Tobias can attack his top foot and get downhill. Now, the low man is RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett probably has to step up really early to dissuade this drive. And that means that Grady has to be in a better position to step down and chop into Duren here. So does either of those things happen? Not really. Grady is pretty late. RJ was pretty late there. And Harris makes a contested layup, left-handed. It's not terrible defense, but the Raptors play to scheme, and they're a little late enacting it. Them's the breaks. We go on to the next play. And keep in mind, the Pistons were 13 of 13 from at the rim in the first half, right? So this one kind of starts early, but this isn't even a screen, right? Like, they think they're going to get a step-up screen here. Jakob is probably playing too high relative to Duren here. Jakob was supposed to get back and then meet the level, but this isn't really good, like, pseudo-transition defense. You just get a split. Like, just easy peasy, you get a split here. Grady is the low man. He's the guy who has to step over if it comes, right? Jakob actually pretty good in contain. This means also that Davion probably has to chop down on Duren. Does that happen? Yes. That means that Ochai, are you doubling up here? Is there a pass available to Cade? That would be pretty tough to make, right? Fine. He takes it in. He gets his own rebound. That's just early offense attacking a defense that didn't properly set up. Like, Jakob probably should have been in a better position, but he wasn't. And that's fine. That's a small mistake. Now, this one. Here we go. Reject the screen because Davion is playing really aggressive ball pressure defense. Nice cross, get into space. Jakob was getting up pretty high. Like, Jakob was going to, and he gets caught. Like, he gets crossed even, which is pretty crazy. And that's not bad defense or anything. It's just kind of funny. Now, who is responsible here? Ochai is technically the low man. What is going to happen? He just kind of waits, right? Do you want him to, and we'll just let it play. Okay, so Duren gets all the way to the rim. If he's getting downhill, how do you want to stop this play? Do you want Grady one pass away to step in? Probably not. Why don't the Raptors want the guy one pass away to step in? Because they're third in the NBA in three-point frequency allowed. They don't want to allow three-pointers. They want him one pass away to stay home. Ochai is already pretty far off of him here. Should he not just dig into him, make sure that the pass goes to the corner, and then Grady can rotate the corner and Ochai can X out? To me, that's probably the ideal defensive situation there. However, he's not really aggressive here. He's just in that spot. The pocket pass is made to Duren, who Euro steps past and gets to the rim. Ochai, could he have been aggressive and changed that play? Maybe. But this is, again, all to scheme for the most part. The Raptors are playing in scheme and just allowing shots at the rim, which happens in this scheme. Okay, we're going on to the next one. Side pick and roll. Duran just slips behind Jakob, which again, like this is not, you don't want to let that happen really. But this is asking Jakob, who doesn't usually play this amount of minutes, doesn't usually play, this much in games, and doesn't usually play like this high all the time, to play high ball pressure defense as the big and, not necessarily the low man. You can see here, RJ is pointing to Grady saying, "You're the low man." If you can't see his arm, he's pointed out there. "You're the low man here. Go get him." Grady is not really tuned in. He just turns his head and he's really late. RJ is still pointing there. That means if Grady was like really strong here, if this is Kyle Lowry in 2017, he's already here and he's trying to draw a charge, right? And especially since there's no help in the strong side corner, that would have put RJ Barrett in a weak side zone, right? And so Grady is late. And since he's late, that means that Duran gets to detonate at the rim. Now, is that a problem as far as scheme? No, that's just not attentive on defense. That's weak defense. And RJ, if this was a certain level of defender, he might have even he might have already made the rotation and told Grady to weak side zone. But instead, he was telling Grady like, "Hey, you're the low man," and Grady was late too. This is all late. They're allowing, when you play defense, you have to be aggressive in so many spaces. When you're playing good defense, you're aggressive off ball. You can't be toothless in your rotations. You have to, when you dig, it can't be a step and kind of a baby little swipe. You have to dig with intention. When you're the low man, you have to get to the spot early. And as you can see in all this film, is that like, yes, there are a few problems happening at the point of attack. Davion Mitchell is kind of like busting his ass. He's doing his best job. But the help side stuff from the Raptors is not exactly strong. And that means that you're going to allow dunks. You're going to allow a lot of stuff to happen. This one is just like bad transition offense because the Raptors are facing a cross match right now. This is Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley is Grady Dick's guy. Grady Dick got cross matched on technically Cade Cunningham here. He and Ochai, Grady was pointing like, "Ochai, you have to pick up Beasley," but Ochai is getting ready to pick up Cade and stop the ball. This is what happens in transition defense, is you have to be able to pick up first. Grady is saying, "I don't want Cade, but I'm going to have to take him." He's pointing to Ochai, "You have to take Beasley." They're just not quick enough communicating that. It allows a gap here in transition. And RJ doesn't really want to help one pass away either when this develops. And for obvious reasons, because a 3-point shot, a corner one wide open, is probably easier than what happens there. That's just transition defense. It's not always the cleanest. It's not always the easiest. This one is another example, is like, watch Chris Boucher. The ball will come off the rim. It's a missed free throw. Chris, after he loses the rebound battle, he just dies. Like, he's just like, "Oh, damn." And then Holland comes in for a layup. That's bad defense. And like maybe they bumped hips or something like that. He's hurting a little bit. He's jonesing, whatever it might be. That's just like a defensive breakdown, and one that is born out of effort. And also this came in the crazy lineup where they gave up a 10-0 run at the end of, or maybe it wasn't a 10-0 run. I can't remember. Either 8-0 run or 10-0 run at the end of the first quarter, where they couldn't create any offense and they were constantly behind the 8 ball. This one, okay, just coming out of the corner, this is also gets really into like what the Raptors are trying to do defensively, right? So we have the ball will go up court. Here we go. Now, they're about to institute a little action here. Keep in mind, this is Ron Holland in the corner. Ron Holland is 2 of 16 from the corner so far this year. I think he's shooting 13% from 3 on the season. He's a complete nothing burger as far as a shooter here. Now, this is bad because Jamison Battle is going to come up and he's just going to slip. So that means that, for all intents and purposes, I believe this is Wendell Moore. Wendell Moore is going to have a free lane as a cutter because his guy just fell to the ground. Jakob Poeltl is guarding, maybe a pseudo stretch big in Stewart, who isn't the best shooter, but Jakob is stepping up with him instead of hovering deep in the lane because they have to respect Stewart's shooting to some degree. Mobo is guarding Cade, so that means that he's going to be playing a little bit closer. Again, Grady is guarding a totally nothing shooter here. Now, that means he gets a slip. Ivy is about to make a really great pass. Now, who is in a position to guard this pass? Battle is on the ground. Shed is at the point of attack. The guy who's in a position to guard this pass is Grady Dick. But Grady Dick, because the Raptors scheme says, we don't want to allow threes. We don't want that. You're one pass away. You're going to stay. Now, this is scheme versus interpretation of scheme versus what a defender is supposed to do in certain cases, right? Like if this is Draymond Green and their scheme is to stay at home, and Draymond Green says, I know the scheme is to stay at home, but I'm a defensive player of the year, however many times. I know who my check is. It's Ron Holland, who shoots 2 of 16 on the year from the corners and 13% overall. This guy can't shoot. I'm going to be in this space. Grady is not going to make that same decision. It's an easy pass. And also, like, again, because the Pistons are a team that play, beef stew, and beef stew can ostensibly shoot it a little bit. Jakob Poeltl is up too high. That slip. So there's a couple breakdowns. Most of it is just because Jamison Battle fell, and that's unfortunate. But Grady Dick was in a position to, quote unquote, save this play. But did he? No. And was that because he's sticking to the ideals of the scheme? Yes. This is just how defense works. Is there is an overarching scheme, but are you going to, do all of that? How do you interpret that scheme? This one, okay, just high pick and roll. Jamison Battle is not in a good spot right now because his right leg is where all of his, he's about to have to explode through a screen, and his right leg is where all of his weight is. That's not good. And that means that he's going to be pushed around and create like a drastic angle where it puts him in chase. Now, Grady Dick is right here. He's one pass away. It's above the break. He's like, okay, I'm here I'm in the gap in case he wants to take this to the left. Mobo is again playing pretty close on Cade, and Jakob is having to split the middle between these two guys. And Shed is just the low man over there. He snakes it, which means that Grady's dig is mostly that it doesn't matter anything. Mobo is again on Cade. So what does this leave as an option for the ball handler? Beef Stew is going to come, Isaiah Stewart is going to come and set a Gortat screen. And you're particularly susceptible to Gortat screens if your point of attack defense isn't strong. And Jamison Battle is not the strongest point of attack defender. So this is all a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to stop sharing the screen. Hey, everybody. We just watched a lot of film. So we saw mistakes, right? And you see these mistakes is like the thing that can lead to failure for a team on the defensive end can be really small. And I don't know, in chat, I would be interested. Let me know if you think like most of these mistakes are scheme related or whether these are small mistakes that are being made by players that you would hope are performed better over time. I'd be interested because I don't want to say because again, me walking through this film, I don't want to say like the players, it's their fault. That's not what because again, players make mistakes. Defense is full of mistakes. It's very tough to play perfect mistake-free defense. And the Grady one is my favorite example because Grady is in a position to save the play, but he's also in a position where he's holding fast to the ideals. That's one where I'm like, okay, I don't blame Grady. But then there's another ideal not ideal, but there's another play where Grady is the low man and he's just late. He's just late. But then you ask yourself like, okay, even if Grady is early, it's a one-on-one between Jalen Duren and Grady Dick. If Jalen Duren is able to Euro step around Jakob Poeltl and finish at the rim, what is going to happen there, right? So my favorite thing about going through defense is that there's never usually good answers. And that's kind of what I wanted to, for the people who, thank you for watching this kind of stuff, but for the people who look at this defense and for the people who have been wanting me to say like, is Darko screwing everybody over? Is Darko making the wrong decisions as a coach here? Or are the players just bad defenders? It's like their team right now is not filled with strong defenders. Like even it didn't show up in that film, but Jamal Shed has struggled a ton this season. He was supposed to be, maybe because he's a rookie, like a plus defender, right? all that kind of stuff. Coco here says small mistakes, maybe also, I will show this. Small mistakes, maybe also in having a little bit of room and interpretation where they can make small different choices. Yes, that's kind of the thing. Is like that's what defense is. That's why I hate a lot of finger pointing defensively. Like there are some objective mistakes, but also it's like five guys trying to operate at once. You're trying to, neutralize certain areas of the floor. You have certain ideals that you have to hold to, that you have to maintain because that's the defense. And then also there's like, okay, well, if you're Darko, do you maybe look at what's happening here and say, well, we're not defending the rim super well. We are limiting 3-point frequency. Do we maybe want to make a decision where we put a little bit like more attention on being able to guard the rim and giving up some 3-pointers? Do you decide to make that trade-off? Do you know who made that trade-off? Nick Nurse, and he did it with better defenders. And I remember what fans thought of the defense, the democratic rim protection defense of Precious is rotating over, Pascal is rotating over, OG's rotating over, Scotty's rotating over. We're in the gaps. Fred is in the gaps. He's got the big old meat hook dig down hands. You want to help. And so what do the Raptors lead the league in? Because they help from all these spots. They lead the league in corner 3-pointers allowed. You have to pick your poison. And for example, the Boston Celtics, who are a great defensive team, they don't have to pick as many poisons because they can neutralize so many attacks immediately because they have so many strong defenders. The Raptors don't have that same level. So there's no firm answers being provided here. However, I just wanted to walk through some film. I'm certainly not a perfect film guy. I don't know everything. I'm wearing the shirt bouncing around the podcast I used to do with Coach Evan Gualberto, who's a tremendous coach, where we used to break down plays all the time. And I've learned from him. I've learned from many people who are in the NBA sphere and who aren't. But I still miss a ton of things. But in watching this film back, rather than having hard takeaways of who's good and who's bad, I think you realize that it's hard to execute defense without making mistakes. And what I hope is that when you watch this stuff, you get an appreciation for good defense rather than a hatred for bad defense. My expectation is that this Sofio Serrano says, I'm no Caitlin Cooper. That's correct. I certainly am not. Caitlin is the best. She's the best basketball writer in the world. Blake Murphy says, instead of picking my poison, I would simply not go to a bar that only serves poison. That's correct. That's like the Simpsons meme, the Treehouse of Horror, where he's getting the drink and he's like, it has benzoate, something poison. And no matter what, he has to take it. Giovanni says, Samson Folk, do you pay Jakob Poeltl 25 to 30 million a year for 4 years having a career season in early 2025 extension? No, probably not. I think cart in front of the horse at that point. I'm not a guy who wants to trade Jakob. I know S was having that conversation in chat earlier. I think Jakob is important to the Raptors. I also think that he's not as valuable across the NBA as some people might think. I know his numbers are juiced right now, but scouts, GMs, everybody is smart enough to understand from other teams that Jakob's numbers are juiced right now, not because he's taken this huge leap, but because he just has more usage. A lot of teams in the NBA do not want Jakob having that much usage. And that's it. So the extra numbers that Jakob is providing, to me, doesn't suggest that his value is higher now than it. Like Jakob's value, in my estimation, I could ask around, is not higher. It's just Jakob is a good player. And I think that he's on a fine contract. He helps facilitate what the Raptors want to do on both sides of the court. And the Raptors aren't going to get this huge, they're not going to get a lottery pick for Jakob. They traded one, but they're not going to get a lottery pick for Jakob Poeltl. They're not getting that back. My vulgar here, or me vulgar, whichever it says, if you trade Jak, you better find another guy a lot like him to keep rotation sane. I hate seeing our undersized guys defend other fives, especially Scotty, Bruno Ain't. Yeah, friend of the show, T had this tweet where he was like, he said, "You know your season is over as soon as you start having the conversation about like who's gonna play the 5 now." It's a tough position to just get guys to fill in. Pedro Toad says, "Time for JV for Gasol 2.0 when we trade Jakob for Zach Edey." Yeah, however you want it to be. Yeah, I think it's just going back the other way. Jakob, he could be valuable on other teams, but the proposed trade would have to like rock your socks off for the Raptors to consider it, I think, which is smart because they don't have to trade Jakob. He's not a guy you have to get rid of. I think he's a huge positive for the team. Now, if you get some sort of opportunity where, you know, the Raptors get like a blue chip prospect coming back, or they get, you know, like a lottery pick or something like that, then sure. But I don't think that trade is coming down the pipe or anything like that. But yeah, basically what I wanted to do early on in the podcast, besides showing you guys a black screen and talking into nothing, is I wanted to kind of walk through some defensive film so we can say, so, you know, I'm saying like, hey, this is what I'm seeing defensively. We're all watching it together. People can, I didn't see chat at the time I was looking at it, but we all watch the film together. We can all, you know, have our own takeaways of, okay, what is going wrong here? What are the Raptors doing wrong? Are things good or bad? And it basically, like, there was a question here from Catherine Ann Bird that says, do fans overrate rotation and over persnickety things when evaluating coaching? Also, Nick Nurse is once again struggling to field a competitive team without a Hall of Fame anchor. 30 seconds on Lowry's greatness. I think that's funny. I do think fans, and not even fans, analysts, I think the vast majority of people overrate lineup data, rotation stuff. Like, obviously, the Raptors finishing the first quarter yesterday with like the Jamal Shed led lineup and immediately giving up, I don't remember if it was an 8-0 or 10-0 run. Like Jamal Shed, Jamison Battle, Mobo, Fernando, and I don't remember who the other player in at that point in time was. Like, that's a rotation decision of just trying to get through a game. And if you want to win games, if you want to like maximize everything, obviously what you're going to do there is you're going to stagger RJ and Grady so that there's some semblance of offensive punch. Oh, Raptor Republic. Ochai. Thank you, S. There's nobody there. Like, Jamal Shed, 40% of his shots on the court come from the short mid-range. He made 2 last night, short mid-range push shots, but like, Jamal is not, teams are not scared of the Jamal ball handler. They're not really rotating over to him. The reason why he's taking so many short mid-range jumpers is because he can't get all the way to the rim, or push shots. He can't get all the way to the rim, and teams are not rotating to stop him. So there's very few playmaking outlets available to him. So what is left? A push shot, a low percentage push shot. That is your lead ball handler. Should it be a little bit different? Yeah. However, the Raptors don't really have the roster. And that's like a big thing here too, right? Is, again, what I said at the top, Scotty Barnes was playing all NBA level basketball, and he played better when he was with Pascal in particular, right? Like, he played really well off of Pascal. Now, I'm not rehashing that. The Raptors, when you look at what they're doing now, it made so much sense to move on from Pascal. Perhaps it made more sense to do it earlier, right? There's tons of behind the scenes talk leading up to that. They had tried to trade Pascal multiple times. They had conversations about Pascal for years. Pascal almost went to the Cavs. Like, those were proposed trades way back when. They've considered it. It just didn't happen. But you look now, the way the Raptors are building, this is what they want to do. This is their job. Scotty was playing all NBA level basketball. That is a guy who's played like 2.5 games this year, man. He's really important to what the Raptors do. Really important. Did he struggle more once it was like BBQ instead of like OG and Pascal? Yeah, because Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett aren't as good as OG and Pascal. And Scotty needs a little bit of help to alleviate what's happening on offense. But He's really good. S says here, they missed their all-star. Wow. Yes. And the reason why I'm saying this is the way people critique the team, Darko, anybody that they can, you would think that the Raptors were healthy and 2-11. When the Raptors were healthy, I can't remember who commented it, but they had said like the Raptors won't get to 4 wins in their first 20 games or something like that. When I was doing the podcast with Will, and the Raptors were, I think maybe they were at 2 wins at that point in time, and I was like, well, they're halfway there. But then everyone got injured. Like it's hard to evaluate this team because Quickly has played 68 minutes this year. Scotty's played 134 minutes this year. These are the highest paid guys. Well, like Scotty, not yet, but like they did the press conference for them. They rolled out the red carpet. These guys are the future. The rebrand, it starts now. Not having these guys is a big deal. Now, whether you think IQ is like truly a guy who swings winning a bunch, some people do, some people don't. But the Raptors, as far as like how we've been able to evaluate them, is like almost nothing, which is why it's been enjoyable that Grady has been popping off, which is why it's been enjoyable that RJ had a nice stretch run, because they've been very resilient offensive players. To get back to the point about Catherine Enberg, like, are people overrate rotation decisions? Yes, I think they do. Like the Raptors, they have this huge positive swing with Jonathan Mobo and Jakob Poeltl. They're like, before last night, they were winning those minutes by like 12 points per 100 possessions. They played those guys down the stretch, and they lost those minutes to the Pistons. The rotation, the on-off say they're supposed to win. The lineup data says they're supposed to win. Sometimes you don't. Especially this early in the season, coaches are throwing stuff at the wall and trying to see what sticks. And like by the time it's the 76th game and you have a lineup that really wins minutes and it does, then I think you can get into some of that critique. But right now, the Raptors have been, I don't know if technically they're the most injured team in the NBA. They're in the top 3 most injured teams in the NBA, especially like during the season. And they're just trying to make it work as they stare down the barrel of like a hellacious schedule, and they try and make stuff happen. I'll tell you this much. I think I know a lot of people think I'm light on Darko critiques. I will be harder on Darko critiques once we know, like, we have a better understanding of what this roster can really do. And once we have a better understanding of like what guys do well together. Like this Raptors team, Emmanuel Quickley and Scotty Barnes, their 2-man actions, like with Emmanuel Quickley on ball, have been really bad. Masai was on the phone. It's in open gym. He's saying like, I love how they fit together. That's Masai. I love how they fit together. This is the crux of the offense, is like the Emmanuel Quickley, Scotty Barnes 2-man game. It's been bad. That's not Darko's fault either. So the thing that is supposed to be like the central motivator of your offense hasn't been good. It's not the coach's fault. It doesn't mean it won't get good, but it's just like things that people are betting on have not been able to come to fruition. And not only that, like it hasn't gone that well, but also they haven't had that many minutes to do it. There's a million reasons why this could be going good or bad. And that's why looking at the defensive film was good. It's like some of these things you look and say, yeah, this would have been better if they're running perhaps a different scheme. Like, do you put Jakob Poeltl in a deeper drop? Maybe you do. But then you have Cade Cunningham, who's going to like body every single on-ball defender who he's 4 inches and 30 pounds bigger than. And he's going to like crab dribble into the lane for 2-on-1s all night. It's tough. These are tough decisions to make. Yeah. S says they've played 300 minutes together post-Pascal trade. Yeah. Sophia Serrano says rotations are so tangible and people tend to over-index on what their limited scope can observe. I think the framing is a little rude there. But I understand what you mean. Is like rotations are, I've talked about this before. What is visible, hyper visible as far as decision making? People, it's really easy to be like, that guy's in the game. This guy should be in the game. It's harder to be like, okay, we're playing no middle defense. Do we want to play like really hard in the gaps here? Do we want to start weakening the pick and roll? Do we want to ice? Those things aren't the same. They look the same if it's on the left side of the floor, but it's not the same. Like getting into those types of coaching decisions is harder. But saying like put this guy in, put that guy in, there's a reason why people critique rotation so much is because it's so accessible. I do agree with that, Sophia. Although, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's really, really tough. ND Talks Ball says, at this current moment, what's your prediction on our end of the year record? Lord. Oh, Lord in heaven. That's a tough question. That is a really tough question. Oh God. I don't even know, ND, because this team just hasn't been healthy. I'll tell you what though, and feel free to critique me, anybody. Giovanni says Raptors lucky to win 20 games. I think I said 39 or 38 wins for the healthy Raptors. They haven't been remotely healthy. Blake says 2-80, perhaps. Here's a good question. Yeah, here's the thing. Ian Finlayson, Raptors Republic member, writer, tremendous guy. Any thoughts on Carlson signing with OKC / should the Raptors have kept him on a two-way? So and then Andre at Lindo_Cafe says, can you tell me why I'm the only one pissed off that OKC Thunder signed Brandon Carlson? The Raptors barely have 7-foot players, and this one can shoot the three and defend. What am I missing? Okay, and that also, I had a DM from CEV that was a couple weeks back where I wasn't able to talk about Carlson yet. We can talk about Carlson now. Have the Raptors made a mistake because again, Carlson lost his two-way because of who? Jamison Battle. Jamison Battle came and won that from him. Could Carton have lost his? Yes. Could Shamshay have lost his? Yes, but there was no way Shamshay was losing his. Like 0%, right? At least it makes no sense for the Raptors to move off of Shamshay and like open him up to be nabbed by other teams like Carlson just was. Carton, they could have, but they decided on Carlson. Do I think DJ Carton is a better player than Carlson in a vacuum? Yes, I do. Do I think that Carlson could have played minutes for this Raptors team? Yeah. Tim Waring, Tim W, famous writer at Raptors Public, says, are we really wringing our hands over a guy who will barely play? Some people are, which is okay. Like, there are a lot of guys who liked Brandon Carlson. And like, yeah, it's Brandon Carlson. He looks like Jerry McConnell. And he does, like, if you idealize what Carlson does, which is like, he's the all-time leader in block shots for the Utah Utes. He shoots the three, but that's kind of like, I don't know if he shoots it. And he's big. Those all sound like the ideal thing that's happening with big men. That sounds like that's what everyone wants in a big nowadays, right? That's what everyone wants in a big nowadays. But do I think Carlson was actually like a difference maker? No. I can get ready to eat my words if he pops off with Thunder, certainly. And I really like Brandon. And if he did, I would be ecstatic because I tell you this much. I love when players are good at basketball. If Brandon Carlson just like found a spot on OKC and he rocked, that would be such a cool story. Like that would be really good. Based on what I've seen of Brandon, do I think that will happen? Not really. But I'd love to be wrong because it's way more fun if players are good than if they're like more or less not notable. Do I think the Raptors made a mistake here? No, I don't think so. Like, I don't think the Raptors expected to be this injured. I don't think that the Raptors expected to like be hanging on the decision of Brandon Carlson. Is this a blow to the 905? Yes. This is a blow to the 905, big time. Yeah. Keir Doyle says, how much worse than Bruno could he have been? Worse? He could have been worse than Bruno. That's like 100% in play. He probably would be a little bit quicker as far as like stepping in to rotate, but Carlson was actually like slow on his rotations, like a step slow. Playing on a bigger court, you have to cover more space. He was a step slow on rotations throughout training camp and preseason, I thought. He's also like older. He's 25, 26 years old, right? So this kind of stuff, I think he's 25. Carlson, I think he would have to be like a lights out 3-point shooter to immediately be a guy who stepped into the NBA and made it happen, because I think that Carlson would have struggled with the physicality. We'll see. We'll see if he does it with, again, I'd love to be wrong. We'll see if he does it with OKC. That would rock. The way that OKC plays is more friendly to Carlson than the Raptors. He's a better fit on that team, and it's easier to be a small piece player on a really good team that, can give you a small role than it is to, he would have been asked to do a lot of big man stuff on the Raptors. And I think Bruno Fernando, as some people might disagree, Bruno Fernando is a better big man in the NBA right now than Carlson. Again, clip it if I'm wrong. Jesus Lord. Clip it if I'm wrong. And yeah, that's kind of the Brandon Carlson spiel. Pedro Toad says, has the Noah board in the training facilities actually helped any Raptors become a better shooter? I swear Dylan Brooks was the only dude to ever actually have it improve his shooting. So I think I remember Grange wrote a piece about Noah like in 2013, before I even was in the sphere of writing or covering the Raptors, well before. Grange wrote this big piece, and I remember he had like this awesome interview and conversation with DeMar about it, and how DeMar ignored the Noah stuff. If I remember correctly, Blake or S will correct me in chat, I'm sure, or anybody could correct me in chat if I'm wrong. The Raptors organization has been using it for a long time. The Noah board is just like this big thing. And so for anybody who doesn't know, the Noah board shows you like there's 3 ways it interprets the data and feeds it back to you while you're shooting. Like, of course, it tells you like how many you make, how many you miss, but it tells you the angle it comes in from. It tells you like where it's missing left or right. And it shows you like how flat the shot is and where it entered the basket. So it's little dots, like it plots where the ball is ending up. So it can tell you like, okay, that shot was a little flat. That shot had a little more arc. You missed right. You missed left. Like because you remember sports science, John Brinkus, he runs with the force of a Mack truck. Like, I think they determined that 47 to 49 degrees was the best arc for the ball to enter the rim at. It was like either Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. I know that Jeremy Lin, when they did sports science, it was close to the ideal entrance. I don't know that the Noah board is like fixing shots or anything like that. They invested in it, but the Noah board, when you go into the like practice or something, it's usually just saying like Raptors team. Oh wait, I'll put my arm down for like Raptors team, all that kind of stuff. It's just like advertising the word of the day a lot of the time, and then players shoot around and it shows up. We'll see. Well, actually, we won't see. We've got plenty of data. Norman Powell is probably like the most radical shooting improvement that the Raptors have had. Like, Pascal Siakam improved. This is what I'll write about for a little bit for Caitlin's Patreon, but it's like Pascal made a lot of jump shot differences this season. Like his 3-point shot, his hand used to sit like this, but now he cocks it like way down, and there's a lot more wrist flick on his 3-point shot. And he actually, I'll put the mic down. When Pascal is doing his free throw, if you watch, he's going up, the guide hand is falling away. He's finishing like this. The guy usually on the follow through is when the guide hand leaves the ball, but he's dropping the guide hand like way earlier, which is interesting. But Pascal was one of the highest volume mid-range shooters in the NCAA before he got drafted. Yeah, it's like Norman is probably the best one. OG started shooting the 3 as soon as he got into the NBA. He was like rehabbing an ACL. It's just like it doesn't fix anything or make anything happen. Blake says, I think the Noah board is just to make feedback / coaching more efficient. It's not going to fix guys' shots. It's a feedback device more than anything. Yeah, it's that's what it is. That's like it's just data. And you can over-index on data, you can obsess about data if you want, but these are physical manifestations that have to happen before you end up doing like all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Okay. What else we're gonna talk about? Here's okay. Zulfi asks, how much quote fun losing are you cool with before you think it runs the risk of bad habits sticking long term, i.e. fouling, turnovers, defense, and team culture implications? Yeah, this is that's an interesting question. Fun losing. I think fun losing does not last that long. I'm actually pretty impressed that he's lasted like 13 games or so. But truthfully, I think it's about to run out. Like for people who watch me walk through film, I mean, you're gonna watch a lot of Raptors this year, and you're gonna watch for like the new interesting things that are happening. But there's a large swath of the fan base that they're out. They're out. The team is 2-11. They're out. They will revisit if they're fun again. Like they've lost part of the fan base because they're bad. That is just what it is. The implications for how good it makes the team or things that stick around. Yeah. I think that the Raptors have like a lot of hustle culture right now, and not hustle culture derogatory, not like online hustle culture. Like, oh, I started drop shipping and now I make this much, and don't ask for proof, but I make TikToks about it. Like, not that type of hustle culture, but I think that when you play the quote unquote right way, then you're looking at things that don't stick around, like fouling too much. The Raptors, like, yeah, they foul a lot. Will they foul less when they're in stronger defensive positions because they have stronger defenders? Yes. The reason why they're fouling a lot is because they're overextending themselves to play a very difficult brand of defense. And then also like the turnovers, this is a team that will probably always turn the ball over a lot, Zulfi, because the beautiful game Spurs, they were like the peak of basketball. They made so many great decisions. They were still almost top 10 in turnovers. Darko talked about this before he got hired by the Raptors, actually. Like there's a Zoom interview that he did where he talked about how like the more you pass, the more you turn the ball over. It's just like that's what happens with basketball, and it's true. And like team culture implications, I think that the Raptors, as far as I can tell, I haven't covered the best version of the Raptors. Like I technically covered the championship season, but I wasn't in Toronto to do it. And then COVID happened, and then I moved. Well, COVID, I guess technically there's still some stuff ongoing, but like COVID lasted however long, and then they started bringing people back in to cover games as media. The fall of 2022, I moved into to Blake's house and stayed there for 3 weeks or a month. Slept on his air mattress, and then I started covering the Raptors, and that was after the 2021-22 season. So I covered 2022-23, 2023-24, and now I'm covering this season. I'm not the best judge of like vibes around a team while covering it because I haven't seen like the best of the best of the best. However, this one feels better than years past, I will say. So the culture implications, I think that the Raptors, despite being bad, are still trudging along with a pretty good idea of who they are and what they want to be, and maintaining, I think, like a good head on their shoulders. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's like an hour of talk. Does that feel good enough? I'll answer a couple more questions. AG says, so at what point do we stop the Raptors third stringers tape and fire up the Cooper Flag tape with Josh? That will come. I promise. November, mid-November is like, it's just a little bit early, man. It's just a little bit early. I know everybody wants me to go through that, but like, and also this is a bit selfish on my end, but like, I'm a Raptors. I do Raptors and analysis, and I guess technically Pacers analysis. Uh, some NBA stuff, but like, man, I don't want to become a college basketball guy on top of that. It's too much work. Like, I see it with like guys who I really think they think well about the game. They start doing too much college stuff and they'll start saying stuff about the NBA that I'm like, that's wrong. You don't watch enough anymore because you can't watch everything. So I don't even know if I can like take on, college stuff. But I'll tell you who watches a lot of college stuff, Josh. And the same way I always have, I will lean on Josh Codenera to point me in the right direction, and then I will watch from there. And so, yeah, Josh and I will definitely do draft stuff. Don't worry. Here's a good one. Giovanni says, what percentage chance of Davion Mitchell back with the Raptors next year? I think pretty good. If I had to guess, I've been pretty happy with Davion so far this year. He is limited. Like, of course, he's limited as an offensive creator. His best, like where he played his best, where he had the most positive impact as a player was when he played with big offensive hubs where he didn't have to do too much offensively, and he didn't have to do too much offensively, and he got to really lock down on defense. That was what he really brought. And like overall, when he was with the Kings, like the past 2 seasons, they were worse defensively with him on the floor. Part of that is because they scored the ball worse, so they had to play more defense against live rebounds. Like that kind of all that stuff has popped off. And with the Raptors, I think he's done like, a good enough job supplementing the offense with what he can with his relatively limited skill set for a lead on ball guard in the NBA. And I've liked the defense. That's kind of where I'm at. Okay. Coach Roach says Basketball Rewind will be starting up soon with draft content and bringing in scouts. Hell yeah, watch Basketball Rewind for that stuff. Sophia Serrano says, have you watched Paige on UConn? Best offensive prospect ever. Paige really rocks. I think the conversation was pretty, like, you could have made it that, like, yes, Caitlin Clark is the big, like, name, and Caitlin Clark is awesome. But would it surprise me if like Paige was a better player than Caitlin? Nah. Like Paige is really impressive. And I'm not saying this is someone who's watched so much of Paige, but some of Paige. Paige is really, really good. Yeah. So Sophia Serrano says, wait, Sam, tell Jalen Suggs to come home. Jalen Suggs does need to come home. Shave it, brother. It's in a bad spot right now. Zzz. You got to come home, man. There's power in coming home. It's very powerful to embrace the bad hairline and just shave it off, or go to Turkey or whatever it ends up being. But yeah, all right, that feels like a podcast. Yeah, an hour and 3 minutes. I hope everyone enjoys. Oh, geez. Ooh, this is what I have to remind everybody of. Okay, wait. Everyone, wait. Do not leave. There's something very important that I have to say. Just let me find it. Okay, you have an opportunity to win money. Okay, so let me go get this link. So Raptors Republic, basically, since we are with the Nation Network now, and since things have changed, ostensibly, we're trying to figure out what everyone likes. And so there is, let's see, I'm just trying to find. Okay, yeah, there's 14 days left. I'll send the link in chat, and you can do a survey. I will put the link in chat. Yes, Tim says I want money. Correct. Everybody wants money. Okay, so I put it in chat. You can click that, and basically this survey is for our listeners and viewers and readers. And you have a chance. They have several to give out of $250 Fanatics gift cards to be won. So that's like a great jersey. You don't even have to get like the swingman jersey. You could get like close to like the authentic jersey. You could get yourself a really nice Raptors jersey. And basically, We want to know what you like and don't like, and what you want to see more like of my show, and what you like from the website, and what you like from whether it's Run It Back or Buckets and Tea and Confederacy of Dunks or Pull Up Trey. Basically, what have you liked about Raptors Republic, all that kind of stuff, and what do you want to see more of? Do that survey. You will have, an opportunity to win some money, and also just from like it helps us know what we're doing well, and it helps us know, what you want to see more of. We'll take this survey seriously, and it will help inform what we do. So if you want to be heard, yeah, that's a great way to do it. I'll post it. I already posted in chat, but also it'll be posted in the bio, I suppose. Giovanni says you can get a limited edition Jalen McDaniels Raptors jersey from Fanatics. Yeah. Coco says, I hope to win a birthday gift. Yeah. And Sophia says, I need them to wear the throwbacks every game. Yeah. And S says he completely forgot to shout it on the recap. That's because you're worse at your job than I. Just kidding. You have too many jobs. That's probably why. There's too much going on for you, man. Yeah. So that's what it is. There's 150 people in here. I am consistently flattered by how many people just come and listen to me yap, because that is what it is yapping. So make sure to like the video before you get out of here. I will be back Thursday morning with Trey, one of Canada's favorite basketball podcasts. I think it's going to be a big podcast for a lot of years. I love doing that podcast with Trevon, and I think we have like a really, really good podcast. I think it's going to keep growing. I'm really proud of what we do, and I'm really optimistic about it. I'll just say that I'm doing the Hello and Welcome podcast, the reaction podcast with Will tonight. So more yapping there after the Boston game. And yeah, that's the stuff. That's what it is. Thank you so much for listening. It's very nice that this level of support comes for this kind of stuff. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that algorithm stuff. Thank you very much for tuning in. And whether you got into this you got into this now, whether you got into this in the morning or at night, it's my catchphrase. Have a blessed day and goodbye.